I spent over £3,400, which is roughly 4.5k in ad spend to make back over £38,000 in revenue in the last 30 days for this e-commerce brands exclusively using Google Ads. And that's roughly $52,000 in revenue. And in this video, I'm going to show you the exact steps and strategies we took to make it happen. Now, this is a very interesting case study for me because prior to us starting work with this e-commerce brand, which is under my Google Ads agency or marketing, there was another very well-known agency within this space that was handling Google Ads for this brand. And according to that old Google Ads agency, for whatever reason, this brand was having a lot of difficulty scaling beyond a certain level in terms of ad spend, in terms of profitability. And they were just unsure as to how to really progress the brand forward. But not only were we able to kind of change things around significantly from that time period, but actually scale it at now an 11x ROAS on average. So this was a very big change in terms of the overall profitability for this brand, which we were able to achieve in a very short period of time. And it also goes to show you how just having a very simple approach, having a very straightforward approach can actually do the trick, can actually make your brand scale significantly when it comes to Google Ads. But before we actually get into the actual nitty-gritty details of the strategy and understand how we're implementing all of these things, how we're making it happen, let's first understand this brand on a greater detail. So this is a brand based in the United Kingdom. It sells all kinds of liquor ranging from whiskey, high-end whiskey, all the way to beer, all the way to anything else that you might drink. So it's like a big retailer for liquor brands, for other retailer brands. It's a very similar business model to what Amazon does, where Amazon has a bunch of these sellers selling all sorts of different products. This is basically like a marketplace for liquor within the United Kingdom. And because of the general approach of this brand within their industry and within their niche, they have a very high break-even ROAS of a 6x. So they need to be essentially very profitable on the front end to make any of this work, which is one thing they were struggling heavily with, because prior to us working together, and we started working with them basically at the beginning of May, essentially their ROAS, there was not a single month where they were profitable this entire year from Google Ads. They were spending £6,000, £7,000 a month in total ad spend, getting a 4.5x, 5x ROAS, and even in the month of April, when things were on the decline, they were at a 3.4x ROAS. So what did we do to kind of now come in and within the first month, within the first few weeks, even 2 to 3 weeks, change it to a 8.8x ROAS while still maintaining a decent level of scale? Well, now overall, this brand had just one major goal in mind, and that was related to Q4, which was get to £50,000 per month in total ad spend. That's like the ultimate goal that they had. And with their current approach, things were actually on the decline. So what we had to do, and we had to act fast, we had to go into their account first to destroy all of the unnecessary momentum, to destroy all of the campaigns that they had going on at that time, to then restructure the whole account on a more simpler basis, on a more simpler strategy. So one of the first things that I saw when I entered this ad account back in late April, early May, was there was a lot of unnecessary segregation going on with the campaigns. For example, if we look at the total number of campaigns that were running during this time, we can see that in total, just on the first page, there's roughly 10, but there were a lot of unnecessary campaigns that were spending money, that were just not really doing anything. Over 30 campaigns during this time period. There was a lot of standard shopping campaigns going on. There was a lot of performance max, a little bit of search, and the strategy, basically, if you call it a strategy, was all over the place. Now, one thing you want to understand is there's no reason for you to unnecessarily add performance max campaigns and standard shopping campaigns without an ideal strategy, because now with Google's new updates, PMax and standard shopping actually compete against each other, and what they do is they cause friction against each other. So if the same product is between both campaigns, it will cause friction, it will interbid, it will overlap each other, and it will do something called internal bidding, where your account will basically bid against each other, and within the account there will be campaigns bidding against each other, which was exactly what was starting here, because there were so many unnecessary campaigns and just so much turmoil going on within the ad account. And worst part of all was within the products themselves, because there were so many campaigns, the last agency was clearly not able to properly track which products are profitable, which products are not profitable. As a result, a lot of these products, which should be at a 5x, 6x ROAS and beyond, they were still running within the campaigns that they shouldn't be in, and they were not excluded despite having very unprofitable levels of returns. So what you want to understand is anytime you have bad products that consistently run within testing campaigns or consistently run within scaling campaigns, what they end up doing is they end up acting as parasites within that account. So what they will do is essentially they will eat up all of this unnecessary impression share, which could be rediverted and distributed to other good products, but they will still continue to eat up that impression share because Google does not have the understanding that it's a bad product for your business, because you simply did not tell the algorithm that, hey, this is a bad product, so we're going to get rid of it. So that's essentially what was happening with this account. It was a lot of just overlooked things, which were unnecessary problems within the account, and it was really dragging down the overall return on ad spend. That's why the overall ROAS was on a downward spiral since basically February of this year. But worst of all was the search campaigns that were running within this ad account. Now, because we have so much experience within the retail industry, because we have already sold liquor for a variety of different brands, both within the United Kingdom as well as the United States, we already know what kind of campaigns work best for this niche versus what doesn't. And search campaigns for a niche like this are a no-go. That's simply because after spending tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars testing them via other accounts and whatnot, we have found out that they just don't respond as they should be within this industry. Maybe because users prefer to look at the overall photos of the products and the liquor bottles as well. Or maybe they're more in the mood of just going onto the landing page and then going around clicking on different products within your landing page to figure out what kind of liquor brand or what kind of actually they want to purchase. Regardless of the situation, search campaigns are ideally not a good approach within an industry like this or a niche like this, where there's just so much different options available. And that's one thing we found out after now working with over 500 brands in total, which, by the way, if you run a brand doing $50,000 or more per month in revenue, you need some extra help scaling to the very next level with Google Ads. Go to my website at yourmarketing.com and schedule a free call with me, and let's see how we can potentially work together and make that happen. But essentially, after kind of auditing the account, after understanding all of these core issues and problems within the accounts, we made the ultimate decision of doing the complete opposite of what this last agency had been doing. And this was not an easy kind of approach for us as well, because first of all, this brand did not have any previous data or knowledge as to whether this would actually work or not. So we were kind of shooting darts in the air blindly. And second, this account needed to be changed fast because they were unprofitable for so long that if we stayed profitable for even a little bit more, it would basically mean the end of the business, which is something we did not want to do. So what we did essentially is we followed the simple works best approach. And the key thing is, because we had previous data within this industry, we knew that a brand like this with this much level of ad spend and impression share, so if we change this to all time, although the strategy had not been ideal, it has still gotten 56 million impressions in total, had spent almost £250,000 in total ad spend. So it still had a lot of large amounts of data that we could look into, we could use for the strategy. So we kept to smart bidding based approaches. We did not want to stick with standard shopping, even though we could do smart bidding that way, simply because with standard shopping, it does not have the same level of algorithmic depth as a Performance Max campaign would, and it's not as easy to control in terms of smart bidding strategies as a standard shopping campaign is. So as a Performance Max campaign would be. So we stuck to Performance Max campaigns, and following the simple works best approach, we actually decided to completely get rid of 95% of the campaign. So we went from having 20, 30 different campaigns to right now in the last 30 days, just 3 major campaigns. That's a very drastic change from what was going on previously. And the main goal behind this was less segregation, which would equal more data within a select few campaigns. So instead of separating out this strategy, this approach across 10, 20, 30 different campaigns, each campaign with £20 a day budget or £30 a day budget, we decided to congregate a lot of this data into a select few campaigns, congregate a lot of the products in a select few campaigns so that we could put more budget into select few campaigns. And as a result, it would allow us to scale much harder. And this would be a more concentrated approach. So that's essentially what we did. We took out all of that unnecessary fluff and started with one major Performance Max campaign, which tests all of the product SKUs at the moment with a feed-only approach. So if you look right here, it's literally a feed-only Performance Max campaign, no sort of other jargon, no assets, none of that stuff. And it literally has all of the eligible products in here that we should be testing, which are in stock as well. So if we change it to eligible, we can see in total, this campaign has roughly 987 SKUs, which is still a decent amount for this level of budget. It's not overbearing, nor is it undercutting it as well. So that's kind of the beauty about this approach with the number of SKUs SKUs we're dealing with. Now, that's the first performance max campaign, just testing based on very broad factors, not too much concentrated as in terms of the restrictions, because we want to let the algorithm go out and find the perfect audience for us. The second campaign right here, this is our catch-all performance max campaign. Is designed to now run essentially at a very high target ROAS restriction and go after only the highest quality audience possible, which is why in the last 30 days, barely spent £350, but made back almost £3,000 in total. That's an insane ROAS of 8.59x. But the beauty is overall, because of these changes and whatnot, we have completely been able to turn around the account in the 30-day period we've been working together by over 238%. And the interesting thing is, we didn't do it by cutting revenue. Instead, we're actually scaling the revenue during this time period as well. It's up 70%, which is also absolutely insane, because the previous agency, which again is a very big agency in this field, was constantly saying that this brand cannot be scaled further, and they were constantly relying on branded traffic. When in this situation, the only campaign that's a branded search campaign is this third one that's barely spent £10 in the last 7 days. But in total, the last 7 days compared to previous 7, we're increasing again 60% in ad spend, 53% in revenue, and the ROAS has been on a little bit of a decline, but it's at 11x, which is much better than the 3x and 4x and 5x values they were originally achieving. But essentially, all we had to do was we had to cut out a lot of the fluff. We cut out the bad campaigns, especially the cold traffic surge, because from our experience, we already knew that that was not an ideal approach here. And then from here, we focus on the right approach with proper product segregation. And now we're actually focused more on long-term scaling by improving the product feed. So that's one thing we did not have to go in depth and actually change too much, because the product feed, originally the owner had already set up a very strong product feed with the right product titles and whatnot. The only thing that we need to do is we need to focus on improving the CTRs, which the reason why they're low CTRs is because the product images at this point of time are blending in with their competitors. So despite not even attacking the most important thing yet, which is the images, we're still able to scale this account massively from what it was previously by just simplifying the approach and segregating only what is necessary and cutting out a lot of the other jargon. So this now brings us to the scaling strategy, which again, we're keeping things very simple. We're going to only focus on vertical scaling here, which is scaling by adding more budgets to the campaigns on a daily basis and lowering the restrictions as needed overall. That's simply it. We're going to keep everything else the same. We're not going to be adding more campaign types unless absolutely necessary. And this is the main way we're going to be scaling this brand to multi 6 and 7 figures with Google Ads at a 10x, 11x ROAS and beyond. But again, if you run a brand doing 50,000 or more per month in revenue, you need some extra help scaling to the next level with Google Ads, go onto my website at theovermarketing.com and schedule a completely free call with me, and let's see how we can potentially work together and make that happen.